Ladies and gentlemen, I am coming at you live from the power of YouTube. And as you can see, last night I debuted my new championship. Before we get on with Raw, I got some actually pretty interesting news and some news that's going to want you to tune in some more. WWE has found a fourth member for the Shield. Who's it going to be? I have no idea yet. But I'm thinking it's going to be a guy from NXT, like probably Cassius Ohno or the Harper guy, or I'm thinking it's someone from NXT, because they signed a lot of NXT guys, and that's what I think it is. Let's get on with tonight's show. Tonight they were in London, England, and this crowd was okay. It wasn't as good as East Rutherford, New Jersey, but it was okay. You started off the night at Fades from Black, and you got Paul Heyman in the ring, and he does this, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman." I can do some pretty good imitations of these people. And he talked about Brock Lesnar challenging Triple H in the steel cage match at Extreme Rules. And he claims that he had a text message from Triple H saying that Triple H wasn't going to be in England. But guess what? He was. And he grabs Paul Heyman and says, "Tell Brock I accept his challenge." So there's going to be a steel cage. We already know of one stipulation at Extreme Rules, and that's a steel cage match. And then he pedigrees Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman was out. That to me was probably the best segment of the night. Then you had your first match. You had R-Truth going up against Antonio Cesaro. This match, it wasn't really that big of a deal, but R-Truth won this. And then you had, all of a sudden you see this helicopter come flying in, and you're like, oh, it's Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon's going to be in that helicopter. And as it lands, they zoom up, and it's not Vince McMahon. It's the Shield. The Shield come driving in to London, England on a helicopter. That was pretty cool. Talk about an entrance. And then you had Brodus Clay versus Damien Sandow. This match, again, was not really that big of a deal. And Damien Sandow won this match. He grabbed the tights of Brodus Clay and got the 1-2-3 after a distraction from Cody Rhodes. The next thing you see is this hanging on a ladder, and you have Dolph Ziggler just staring at the thing, and he's like, I love you, and he's sitting here petting it just like I am, kind of. And AJ comes over there and says, "Hey, don't you think I'm getting a little jealous," or something like that? And Dolph Ziggler comes up with a great point. He says, "You should get your own." And what he's talking about is the Divas Championship. And she likes the idea. They start kissing and all this. It's okay. And then they ask Big E Langston to leave because he's invading their space. So Big E leaves, and Team Bricky comes out. Brad Maddox and Vicky Guerrero, they come out and say, "You're in a match against Chris Jericho, and if you lose, we're going to make your triple threat into a fatal four-way at Extreme Rules." And that was that segment. They show what happened to CM Punk last week, him walking off Raw. And I told you guys last night, so go back and watch what happened last night, what I talked about last night about CM Punk on Vlog Weekly. You had what I call a good match. It wasn't the best match, but it was a good match. You had Jericho versus Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler slides out of the ring because this was a great back and forth match. He slides out of the ring because he was getting dominated at the time by Jericho, and he gives AJ a kiss, and it seems like when you kiss AJ, you're going to get screwed. Because what happened was Jericho did a baseball slide, and he went forward and kind of hit his head on the barricade. The the crowd starts fandangoing in the middle of this thing, and then the crowd starts doing a wave again. They're trying to compete with East Rutherford, New Jersey, but they so far they're second. East Rutherford is still first. They're second right now. Ziggler wins this match. How does he win this match? I don't know. He won this match by, well, one, getting a roll-up on Chris Jericho, and because this happened. That happened. His music hit, and the crowd went insane at that time. It was a Fandango distraction. Within the first hour, I had to use 2 pages of notes, or a page of notes. That's how much was on this Raw. After that match, they go to the locker rooms, and, well, not the locker rooms, in the interview area, and they're interviewing Mick Foley, saying congratulations on your DVD and how good it's doing, and no, it wasn't that big of a deal. Your next match was Cody Rhodes versus Sweet Tea, or whatever you want to call him. This was not really that big of a match. None of the matches tonight seemed really that big, except for 2. You had Sweet Tea versus Cody Rhodes, like I said, versus Cody Rhodes, like I said, and Sweet Tea won this, unfortunately. One thing that was said in this match was funny. It was when they were showing the replays. Tensai did his whole senton thing, and JBL says, "Hey, look, it's a flying sofa." It's like, that is probably so true. Then you had probably one of the best backstage segments. You had a backstage segment with Kane talking to Daniel Bryan about their strategy for the Shield. Now, their strategy for the Shield was to have Daniel Bryan start out the match and then do this and this and this and this, but he didn't talk about it. And Daniel Bryan said, "Is your brother here? Because I want to talk to him. And if I don't like what he says, I'm going to hug him." And Kane says, "You're not going to hug him, because one, he doesn't have hugs, and 2, I can't call him because he doesn't have a cell phone." They played these 2 great. This was a great one. And then, as we're talking about strategy, they get attacked. By who? By what looked like the Shield. We don't know. We never saw their faces. So, this very well could be the 4th guy of the Shield. This 4th guy is coming soon. When? I don't know, but he is coming soon. Trust me on this, guys. Ryback was then interviewed, and he explains why he left Cena hanging last week. And it's just as he said, because Cena left him. Cena's got no respect for him because he left him and all this, but it was okay. This wasn't really a good match either. This was mainly a squash match. You had Big E Langston versus Zack Ryder. You can guess who won this match. It wasn't Ryder, so it was Big E Langston. He did the big ending. They had no idea what it was called either. Jerry the King Lawler called it the big finisher. It's not the big finisher. It's the big ending. Hence Big E. Then you had probably the best match of the night. This was the best 6-man tag team match I've ever seen, ever since 1998. Okay, probably the best ever. I think, well, that TLC Shield match was up there, but this is the best ever on Raw or SmackDown or on a televised show completely. You had The Undertaker. You heard the gongs of The Undertaker because he came out first, and then you had and everyone thought, well, Team Hell No is not going to be able to come out here because they were attacked. But you had The Undertaker come out first, and then you had
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield
come out second. You had the Shield come out second. And as the match started, they surrounded the ring, and as the match started, they got in a couple punches, And then you had Team Hell No come out. This match turned into chaos at the very beginning, and then after the commercials, I've got the app. After the commercials, they started the match. This was a fantastic match. The Shield won. Ambrose pinned Daniel Bryan after he missed his flying headbutt. They wasn't going to let the Undertaker get pinned. But if you ask me, each of the Shield members looks like someone of either today or yesterday. Kind of like Roman Reigns, he reminds me of the next Edge. Ambrose, it might sound weird, but he reminds me of the next Randy Orton. Seth Rollins, I'm not sure who he reminds me of. But this was a fantastic, fantastic match. Best match of the night right here. After your best match of the night, you had Foley and Cena back in the locker room talking. And Foley says, "I'm calling out Ryback." So Cena says, "I don't like you calling out Ryback. So here, take this chair. Now I feel comfortable with you calling out Ryback." And they were talking about, Cena was talking to him about how it's a bad idea to do it because of what Ryback can do. Ryback can destroy people. You had, let me switch shoulders here. After that, you had on your WWE app, they interviewed William Regal, okay, and then he talked about how he's going to come back home and how he's in a match for since last time they were in London, England. Who did William Regal go up against? He went up against Fandango. Comes out and he debuts a new dancer. He had this dancer during WrestleMania Access. I don't know what her name is, but she's new. It's not the brown black-haired lady that he had. After the match, after Fandango won this match with his standing finisher, not his flying leg drop, Jericho comes out and attacks him from the distraction because of the distraction earlier. He attacks him whenever he walked up to the ramp, and he throws him off, and the dancer's still standing there. And Jericho pulls off some of his own dance moves. He dances with the new dancer, and it was pretty good. It was kind of like anything you can do, I can do better. So that was pretty good. During the commercials around that time, they showed you what I showed you guys from Vlog Weekly. I showed you guys a trailer of the latest WWE films coming out. No One Lives comes out May 10th. But they didn't show the gory parts that I did, where Brodus Clay gets killed and all this and all the blood, because they're showing it on WWE TV. It's your fault. You should have shown it, and that's why you don't make your movies rated R. That's why you don't sponsor rated R movies, if you're going to do that. And then you had your main event. Unfortunately, it was a Divas main event, but it's giving us maybe just a little bit of hope, maybe, that the Divas division might start getting better. It was a Divas Battle Royal to determine the #1 contender for the Divas Championship. You had AJ, which, yes, AJ was in it. All the other Battle Royals she was supposed to be in, she wasn't in. Keeps falling off. You had AJ, you had Oksana, you had Naomi, you had Tamina, and then you had Layla, okay? And AJ at one point jumps onto Tamina and holds her like she was about to kiss her. And I'm just thinking, kiss her, kiss her, kiss her. Who wasn't thinking that? Because she did it to Kane. She did it. I believe she did it to CM Punk. I'm sure she did it to Daniel Bryan, but we know she did it to Kane and she kissed him. So she does that to Tamina, and you're thinking they're probably gonna kiss, but they wouldn't show that on WWE TV. I don't know why I was thinking that. AJ got kicked right square in the mouth after she did that, and she was basically knocked out for the whole match. So it was down between her and Layla, Layla tries to throw her out. AJ stands up and kicks her through the rope. AJ becomes your number 1 contender. Your last segment was where Foley calls out Ryback. Now, I wouldn't want to call out Ryback, but Foley calls out Ryback, and you had no John Cena matches tonight. But John Cena did come out. They're talking about how Foley and Ryback used to be good friends, but Ryback turned on him, turned on the fans and all this, and then you had Cena come out, and he kind of saved Mick Foley. When Cena came out, you had this again. You had the Shield.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
And then after that happened, Cena realized, oh crap, I'm going to pull a Ryback. He pulls a Ryback, gets out of the ring, starts walking up the ramp. He's like, maybe not. So he goes back in the ring with the chair, and he hits one of the Shield members. I'm not sure who I think it was like Seth Rollins. And he confronts Ryback and takes the chair, throws it on the ground. And then Ryback looks down at the chair, and as he looked down at the chair, he put him on the AA, and that was the show. John Cena walked up to the ramp, does his little A-OK thing or whatever this is. I liked it when he did this as Dr. the Thugonomics, but that's just me. That will do it for this edition of Raw Rewind. Tune in. Well, I don't know if I'm going to keep this Wednesday night show. I like doing it on Sunday. Tune in for SmackDown definitely, but maybe tune in for Midweek Wednesday. And I am the YouTube champion. The true YouTube champion. And I'm checking out.